It's 5 o'clock in Pirate Country, and it's time to get pumped up with the P-Man. Hit the door and hit the road. 94.3 The Game is going to get you home, and the P-Man's not holding back.
Yes! Yes! Pirates win! Pirates win!
Bring on the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Holy mackerel! Oh, my goodness!
The flagship station of the ECU Pirates.
Very pleasant. Hello again, everybody, and welcome. It is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game, and also 94.3thegame.com, streaming there, and on the IBX Media app, which is free for download on Google Play and the App Store. Big hour ahead, our old friend Jonathan Wagner from On3 Sports, big college baseball fan, but also follows the sport for On3, will be with us talking the Pirates and more. We'll talk to him in a few minutes. First, we say hello to Philip the Ref Pilkington. He is the man who is the myth and the legend, and Mr. Do-It-All for 94.3 The Game Sports. You know, Pilk, I had actually forgotten that the Saints job was open.
Yeah.
We talked about, this job and that job, and, the Cowboys hired an intern, I think, to run the ship there. And, the Raiders went back to the future, but not with the old guy we thought they would go back to the future with. And, I just totally forgot that the Saints, but I guess Kellen Moore is going to be the guy, right?
That's what it sounds like. It's interesting, man, because, they were the first to actually fire their coach. So that's part of the reason
right
you
after
forgot.
They played your Panthers.
Yeah. And, I think the reason why is they're not one of those, sexy franchises from, the national. We always talk about them, like the Raiders, even though they haven't been good since Jim Plunkett retired, or the Cowboys because they're the Cowboys. So they fell under the radar for that reason. And then also, what's their quarterback situation? They don't have a high draft pick because they won 5 games. Who cares, I guess, is the point, unfortunately. Obviously, as a Panthers fan, I should. But, yeah, it was kind of I don't know, man. We knew the Jags job was going to come open, so we knew we were going to talk about it. And I think the Saints, it just, since 2009, nobody's cared about the Saints.
And you're right. They are the team that fired their coach first. Did so in the regular season. So, anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. Update you if and when all that becomes official. Kellen Moore's got his plate full of some other things, obviously, for the next 10, 12 days, whatever it comes out to. Did you see the fight last night in the stands in St. Louis during the aftermath of the VCU St. Louis game?
I did not. Saw the Canes fight. Canes went this long without a fighting major, which was pretty impressive all year long, but I did not see an A-10 brawl. I'm loving it, baby. A-10 brawls. I'm here for it. In the stands. Billikens fans ticked off.
That's what it was. And my guy Kyle Williams is excited about this, I'm sure. But it was Billiken on Billiken crime. This was not a case where you had rogue fans from Richmond who had made the trek to St. Louis. This was Billiken fans brawling with one another. And like old heads, brawling with one another.
I wonder if these are Ben's people. Ben's got some family ties to St. Louis. I'm going to say they're Ben Byram's people.
I don't know if they're big Ben B. Baby Byram's people, but I do know that we kind of had like a slow motion spill down, the aisleway, and it looked like a woman trying to pull a guy off in a chokehold.
I need to go back and look at this. I'm going to look at this during the break.
You need to check it out before the end of the show, and we can discuss. Speaking of college basketball, great reaction to having Jerry Palm on yesterday from CBS Sports. He had the Tar Heels in as one of the last 4 in, which would have put them in Dayton, according to Jerry's prognostication at the beginning of the week for the first 4. Last night, the Tar Heels lose. More damning loss last night, North Carolina or Wake Forest? I got to think it's North Carolina. Although Wake Forest has now lost 2 in a row, granted to 2 ranked teams. One that might be the very best team in the country. We'll see. But to me, Pilk, I think right now, if you're North Carolina, it already is a big deal Saturday for the rivalry reasons and what have you. But almost your season can totally do a 180 if you're able to win in Cameron Indoor Stadium on on Saturday, and you might, barring a total meltdown afterwards, would punch your ticket to the postseason if you win, if you're North Carolina at Cameron Indoor on Saturday, which I give that a better chance than I might have a week ago.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this is this matchup, we've always said throw the records out. This has always been, it's never a nameless, faceless opponent. But if you're Carolina, you have to go in with the mindset of this isn't Cameron, this isn't Duke, this is a quad one opportunity. You have to win the quad one opportunity game. It doesn't matter. Throw out the fact that it's Duke. And you're right. Now, the way Duke's played the last 2 weeks, they've looked vulnerable, or 2 games, sorry. Over the last week, they've looked vulnerable. But, look, if you're Carolina, do not get caught up in that emotion of, the crazies, of the rivalry, of the history. No, look, quad one opportunity, you win, you stand a damn good chance to make the tournament. You lose, it's one game good as done in your building in about 5 weeks.
Well, and if you lose, hope's not lost, but because right now they're trending in the wrong direction. But it gives you that quad one opportunity, which would be enormous for the Tar Heels. We'll see. I think it's, we've seen the formula if you're an opponent to keep it within earshot of Duke, to keep it within arm's length of Duke. If you're Wake Forest and State try to employ this, and that's the physicality standpoint. Can you be physical with this Duke team? Apparently you can. Can North Carolina be physical with this Duke team? They're going to have to be if they have a chance on Saturday. We'll have that game, of course, for you on our sister stations, Talk 103.7 WTIB, the Duke feed, and Oldies 94.1 and 102.7 for the UNC feed. But I got to think, Pilk, if you're North Carolina, the question will be, can you be physical with this Duke team? And I'm anxious to see, too, how Cooper Flagg responds because he's been absolutely magnificent.
He has been, and they're going to try and take some, little chicken wing elbows here, get under his skin. I'm sure they'll say some things to him. And what worries me is the physicality inside of Carolina. They do not have a true post defender presence. Not that Kumon Malawach is out there scoring 22, 25 points a game like Armando Bacot did for the Tar Heels in the past, or Dalton Knecht did last year for Tennessee. But if you're going to be physical, you have to be physical inside. And every single one of these Duke players on scholarship is 6'5" or taller. And even if they are more of an outside presence, they can get to the rack. They're acrobatic when they get up in the air. They can score in the paint, and you're going to have to ride Duke out of that lane. Yes, Duke can beat you with the 3-ball, but they're not going to have to shoot the 3 if you allow them into the lane. They would much rather hit the easy layup than the 3. You've got to force them to beat you with that 3-ball and then defend the 3 like NC State did the other night and hope that Duke has a poor night shooting.
Yeah, you got to have a situation where you keep the paint touches and the downhill drives limited. The other thing, Jay Williams said this. I should have had you pull the audio from it. This was kind of interesting. He noted last night that North Carolina, you see teams huddle in the course of a game, right, Pilk? And a lot of that is they're talking about not what just happened, but what's going to happen next. And it was late in the game. The Tar Heels were down 4, still 2 possessions. It wasn't looking great, but, you have Pitt huddling under the guise of a Duke fella, a Duke alum in Capel. But you had North Carolina, those guys weren't huddling and communicating. That's a great way to kind of get an idea of where this team is. Teams that, it's a small thing, but teams that communicate and huddle, that's so important. So important. And right now, this Carolina team is a roster of misfit toys. Now, they can get hot. They got talent, got guys that can play, and they got guys that could go on a heater maybe. And I think it's going to take that kind of effort. And can they be the physical team, or will that get to me, you got nothing to lose, so you need to be physical as hell if you're the Tar Heels on Saturday, and you want to have a chance at a victory at Cameron Indoor Stadium, or you've got to have somebody just go bananas shooting the basketball. We've got ECU basketball. It is a bit of an open week, a bye week, if you will, for the Pirates right now. But they will return to action on Saturday against Temple. That will be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon tip, 1:30 airtime on 94.3 The Game and 107.9 WNCT. If you want to get a look at Temple and a future Pirate opponent, tonight Charlotte is up in Philadelphia to take on the Owls at the City of Brotherly Love. We'll talk ECU baseball coming up next. And we'll be joined by On Three's Jonathan Wagner. Wags! When we come back on the Patrick Johnson Show.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you farm to fork beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to fork beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern Living's best small town.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked to order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern Living's best small town.
Sometimes you just don't know if you want to kiss him or slap him.
Ow!
Either way, he'd probably like it. The Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
We're talking baseball with On3 Sports' Jonathan Wagner. Wags back on the Patrick Johnson Show, joining Philip and myself. I have to ask Wags a couple of questions because these are the burning issues that people want to know. First of all, how are you? It's great to see you again. But your ears are good. I think the last time we had you on this show, it was in June, and you were suffering from, we thought you were going to the burn center. That's how bad we thought it was for you, Wags.
Yeah, well, first of all, I am doing, it is the best time of the year. Baseball's around the corner, and I'm happy to report my ears have recovered. For Christmas, I asked for a bucket hat, so I do have a bucket hat now to wear to baseball games for those situations. So I'm already looking ahead to next year, so I'm doing much better than I was last time.
Is this an ECU bucket hat, or is this just a plain old bucket hat?
Oh yeah, it's ECU. So I'll be sporting the Pirates too while I'm protecting myself.
I got you. Are you heading to opening weekend? Will you be in Greenville mid-February?
Yeah, I will be there on opening day. So I'll be there on that Friday, and I'll be in Greenville the Friday of the UNC series, and I'll be in Durham for that second game of the UNC series as well.
Okay, excellent. By the way, Pilk may need a date for Valentine's. I'm just saying. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. If you guys want to bromance it, just go out and, maybe Pilk could be your wingman. I don't know. You might need to be Pilk's wingman. That might need to be how that goes.
No, on Valentine's Day. I mean, you can't draw it up any better.
I'm for it, baby. And this year we won't have Casey on opening day because Casey would make it a weird trio. He's going to be down in Clinton, South Carolina, so we don't have to worry about that.
Our guy Casey still working for the Blue Hose. How about that? Well, good for him. Good for him. You know, you go back and you look at ECU, what they've done the last handful of years, and I mean, you're talking mid 40s to upper 40s in wins. You're talking a couple super regional appearances galore. And I think when you come into this year, Wags, you look at this Pirate team, and it might be the most unknowns since Cliff Godwin's first year back in 17, even though they were picked, I think, in the top 10 preseason that year. It was unknown how poorly they would have ended up playing compared to their preseason prognostication. With all of that said, there are a lot of question marks here. I can't imagine ECU is the only team like that, but it also seems like that a lot of teams have gone out and either are returning known quantities or gone out and shopped and collected and paid for known quantities. So, just your thoughts coming into the year. In a way, it's exciting. In a way, it's going to be fun to watch this team evolve and move forward.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. And I'm a nerd. I'm a baseball nerd, an ECU baseball nerd specifically. So I love this kind of stuff. I love going into a season not knowing who's going to play whatever position, left field, right field, third base, first base, wherever. I love doing it because I love watching players compete in games that matter for their roles. So, yeah, there's a lot of unknowns, and it's going to take a while, I think, for this team to reach its ceiling. But, if those guys come in and they keep grinding and they keep performing the way they have in the preseason, then I do think this team has a lot of upside. It just might not look like it right away. So I love it. It's exciting. These guys are going to be battling. They're already battling. They have been since the preseason and last fall, and it's going to continue until the end of the season. So every day is going to be a battle. No job, I think, is going to be safe. And as a fan, as a nerd, that's very exciting. And again, I do think this team has a lot of upside. It might take us a little bit to find the guys who can put them in a position to reach it.
With Riley Johnson, you have a known table setter, you have a known defensive gem, and you have a healthy Riley Johnson. How important is that for East Carolina?
It's huge. I mean, just first of all, I'm going to say defensively. And when he's in center field, you're confident that the large majority of fly balls hit out there are going to get caught. And not only that, I mean, he's just a leader. And especially with left field and right field right now potentially being filled by either newcomers or guys who don't have a lot of experience, I think having a veteran guy like that who is elite defensively is huge in center field. And, in the lineup too, it's, we've talked about all these newcomers coming in. I think it's Riley Johnson and Dixon Williams as returners that have really proven it and done it at an extended rate, I would say, in terms of their roles. So knowing you have a nice leadoff guy who's going to probably go hit 300, 330, and when he's on base, he's going to be a threat to steal bases, and that's so valuable. It puts pressure on teams right out of the gates. And, man, it's just – I think, too, with so many newcomers, just leadership-wise, with so much loss from last year, having a guy like that you can just point to and say, just look at what he went through to even be on the field last year. Both of his operated on this offseason. So he has truly given it just about everything to even be in the position to play for ECU. So having a guy like that in your locker room that you can just point to and say, that's how you do it, I think is just as valuable as just about anything else.
Admitted ECU super baseball fan, baseball nerd he describes himself as, Jonathan Wagner. Wags is on the Patrick Johnson Show from On3 Sports. We're talking ECU baseball in the preseason with him. With Dixon Williams, it almost seems to me like you're going to really place him in the lineup mainly for his offense and his offensive potential, and then you can kind of figure out where you're going to play him in the field based on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the lineup, I think he's probably going to slot in middle of the order, whether it's 2, 3, 4. I think any of those spots, all of those spots, you could probably see him. And defensively, I think he's likely to start the year at second base, but last year he primarily played third. But I mean, really, I think you could see him at just about every position on the field this season outside of pitcher and catcher. So I would, just whether it's late game defense and you shuffle stuff around, I'd be surprised if he doesn't play corner outfield a few times. And I think he's capable of doing everything else. So he's going to be that guy in the lineup that you need his bat, but having the versatility with his glove, I think, is going to be very nice as well with so many new guys coming in and so many undefined roles outside of him.
It's been a while, maybe not a long while, but it's been a minute since you've had that really, the two-way U guy that is effective. We saw that a little bit last year in Colby Wallace. How much do you think we'll see Colby Wallace in the field versus on the mound?
Yeah, I think his primary role, I think, is going to be as a hitter. I think he's going to play a lot of first base, third base, and I think his bat is going to be one of those. You could see it anywhere middle of the order, I think, to start out at least. I think he's a guy who could hit 4, 5, 6, 7 and be one of those guys you rely on to get on base and move runners, and so valuable in this program. But pitching wise, I do think you're going to see a fair share, definitely more than last year. But I think it was at Media Day, Jeff Palumbo, who said that he wouldn't be surprised if, some key innings, some high leverage moments, that Colby Wallace is probably going to be on the mound early this season. And I think if he comes out there and he does well on that role, then they're going to keep relying on him. It's going to be one of those things. He probably starts the game at first base, he moves to pitcher, and then you have so many other options, so many versatile options outside of him that could apply to first base. So it's a nice luxury to have, and I do think this year is the official return of two-way U.
Do you think are you a little surprised Ethan Norby won't be utilized, or how he's going to be? I guess it makes sense to use him out of the bullpen, but given some questions, at least on the outside looking in, are you surprised we're not seeing him maybe to start the season in the rotation, or is it just he's going to be more effective in a position where he is the Swiss Army knife that could come out and maybe pitch a couple times a series, could go extended in one situation, or be more of a high leverage guy in another situation?
Yeah, the way I look at it is obviously, the last couple of years, you had your Danny Beal, your Wyatt Lunsford-Chankman, who came out and pitched just about every. And, Austin Knight said at Media Day that ideally you don't have to have anybody in that situation, and you can be deeper all around.
Right.
But,
yeah.
But there's a lot of additions, whether it's freshmen coming in that are going to have an impact right away, or it's transfer portal additions who have done elsewhere. And so, yeah, the rotation it's a question. I think, you have a couple of guys who have pencil in, a couple of guys are still banged up, but I do think that role is where he thrives best, coming into a big moment, kind of like Trey Savage's freshman year. He didn't pitch a whole lot, but he came into big moments and he got you out of jams. And Norby thrives in that. He's a high energy guy when he comes off the mound. But I also think he can come in on Friday if he's the first man out of the bullpen and give you 4 innings. And then he's good to go again on Sunday or Tuesday. And his velocity has been up this preseason as well. Yep. So I think having him throwing low 90s, sitting 91 maybe, and having that coming out of the bullpen a little up from last year, I think makes him even more valuable. So I like the role as kind of a swingman bullpen and kind of a Swiss Army knife, like you said.
Wags, do you think Sean Jenkins will get the ball opening day, or is that more Jake Hunter or someone else? Possibly. I know the kid who's the lefty out of that was the transfer from Loyola might crack the rotation to start the season. But would we see a guy that is as young as Jenkins, who reclassified, if I'm not mistaken, get the ball on opening day?
Yeah, it's maybe my favorite storyline of the season is Sean Jenkins. I mean, we're supposed to be coming here next year, but he reclassified, graduated high school early, and he's 17 years old, and we're having this conversation to begin with. Is he your Friday night guy week 1? And coming out of Media Day, the vibe I got was, yes, I think he's going to be in the rotation. That I think we know at this point. But to me, it's just, who's it going to be? Jake Hunter, I don't think is going to be stretched out enough. He's faced live hitters 3 weeks in a row, he could maybe go Sunday as an opener type thing. But I think Sean Jenkins and Ryan Towers, the Loyola Marymount transfer, I think those two are kind of penciled in my mind right now. And then the third, I think Brett Antolik, a transfer from Texas A&M, I think he would probably be the Friday night guy, but he is currently injured, probably won't be back until March. So, but it would not surprise me one bit if we get their opening day warming up to take the mound.
Is there any chance, I know what you're saying with Hunter, he's going to be used as an opener probably that first week if he starts a game. Is there any chance, just for the nerves, that they throw him out as the Friday night starter, even if he is just an opener that first week? Because when the jungle's rocking and it's opening day at Clark LeClaire, it's not going to phase Jake Hunter at all. We don't know if it's going to phase Sean Jenkins.
Yeah, it's a fair question. To me, I just don't think that that's how they're going to think personally. And I could be wrong. Who knows? They're probably having this conversation right now. But yeah, would it surprise me terribly? No. But am I going to guess that it's an opener situation for that? Also no, because I think if everything they've said makes it sound like, he's come out and he's earned a spot in that rotation. And I think if they're comfortable with him in the rotation, then if he ends up being the guy on Friday, then he's the guy on Friday. And I'd rather that spot be against George Mason than against North Carolina or like a Coastal Carolina. So I'm going to ride it. I think he will take the mound on Friday, opening day.
We got more baseball talk with Jonathan Wagner from On3 Sports coming up. We're going to hold him over a break here and get to him in this upcoming segment. But right now, back to Philip the Ref Pilkington with a 94.3 The Game Sports Flash update and Pirate Report with our 2-minute drill.
Thank you, P-Man. Starting in Pirate Athletics, head on out to Williams Arena Minges Coliseum tonight. Here at the top of the hour, the women's basketball team will be hosting the Shockers of Wichita State. The Canes got a win last night, 4-0 inside Madison Square Garden. Both Taylor Hall and Mikko Rantanen had an assist on the night. That is each of their first points in a Canes uniform, and Taylor Hall will not have to wait long to play his old team. The Blackhawks will be coming to the Triangle tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. In the NFL, not any official news today, but it sounds like the leading candidate for the New Orleans Saints job is offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, Kellen Moore. Obviously can't make anything official until after Kellen Moore coaches in next week's Super Bowl. That'll do it for your 94.3 The Game Sports Flash Update and Pirate Report. We're going to talk some more Pirate baseball as well as the national scene around college baseball with Jonathan Wagner from On3 on the other side.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arrgh!
Looking for a great deal on a new Nissan?
At Greenville Nissan, we've got a great selection of new Nissans for under $30,000.
The stylish Nissan Sentra, offering top-notch fuel economy. The Nissan Altima, known for its comfort and technology.
The Nissan Kicks, the perfect combination with its compact design and performance. The Nissan Versa, delivering incredible value without compromising on features. And don't forget the Nissan Rogue, an award winner for 10 years in a row. Drive it home just for $22 down and $349 a month.
Visit GreenvilleNissan.com today.
Greenville Nissan, where we drive to serve.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt & Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt & Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color. And let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Okay, ready? You ready? Streaming to the world at 943thegame.com. This is the Patrick Johnson Show. Now in all his glory, here's the P-Man.
Jonathan Wagner, ECU alum, On 3 Sports, joining us here. We're talking ECU baseball and college baseball. He joins Pilkington and myself. Anybody that we have failed to mention returning, maybe that is going to have more of an enhanced role, that's a letter winner, or a key newcomer for the Pirates that you think fans need to be on the lookout for early in the season?
Yeah, in terms of returner, it starts with Walker Barron, and we saw glimpses of him last year, kind of as that third catcher behind Justin Wilcox and Ryan McChrystal, but he really came on late. And, Cliff Godwin said at Media Day that coming in, they thought he would be more advanced defensively and his bat would take a little bit of time to develop. But, he came in and I think limited at bats, but he hit over 400 last year. And I think he all in the conference tournament, then in the regional, he probably is getting DH at bats. So I think he's a guy, he's probably going to catch the large majority of the games this year. It sounds like he's going to have a heavy workload, and I think he's ready for it. And I mean, there's a couple guys that were here last year that didn't play much that I think are going to play more this year. Keenan Bowman, Davin Whitaker, and both probably corner outfielders. Keenan Bowman's played a lot of center field, kind of filling in for Riley Johnson this preseason before he takes the field. And Bowman's a guy I like. I think he hits well against live competition. I think that his bat could be a valuable piece you could hit up and down the lineup. And he's got good speed, good fielder, so he can play all three outfield spots and infield. He came in as an infielder. And Davin Whitaker is a guy who he's probably going to play right field, maybe a little first base, but he's the guy, if you look at this lineup and there's not a whole lot of proven power in it, I think he's a guy that profiles as someone to bring more. And if you look at him, first of all, he's 1-3, previously by Jacob Howard. And if you look at him, look at those two side by side, I mean, the resemblance is there. He's tall, he's built, and he kind of looks like in that left-handed batter's box. So he might not start opening day, but I do think his role is going to be, at least early on, you're going to see him a decent bit, whether it's at right field, first base, DH. So those are two guys that I have my eyes on. And, yeah, I think they could play a variety of roles for the team depending on how everything shakes out.
Even though Alex Boucher struggled in his sophomore year at ODU, the South Central product had a really fantastic first year. And I think offensively, at least, could very much be an upgrade at short.
Yeah, absolutely. I just mentioned there's not a lot of power in this lineup. If Alex Boucher finds his game, then he's going to hit some home runs, especially in this ballpark. And he's a big right-handed bat, but defensively he might not profile as a pure shortstop. He looks like a first baseman, a third baseman, but everyone had good things to say about him media day. It sounds like he has a professional level arm. So where he might lack in range and getting to some balls, if he's able to get to some others, then I think his arm is enough to make up for it. So
yeah,
I think he's going to be there. He's probably going to hit middle of the lineup as well. He's going to strike out some. He has some swing and miss, but he is a guy who, if he hits the level I think the staff expects him to, then he's going to be a key part of where this team goes.
All right, Pilk, do you have any more ECU baseball questions? Because I wanted to get into some other college baseball stuff with Wags, but how are you?
I was gonna ask him about his Commanders, but we can save that till the end and let him at least gloat on their wonderful season that they had. But yeah, the one question I have, we mentioned Walker Barron. Why am I drawing a blank on the Boston College transfer right now? We talked about him earlier today briefly.
John Collins.
Yeah, John Collins, grad student. I believe he's 22, 23 years old. Just kind of what are your thoughts? I mean, is he 100% going to be the number 2, do you think? Or, there are some young, highly sought-after freshmen in that catcher's room as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, Barron's going to have the large majority of the work. But in John Collins, I think his defense is definitely not where his strength is. And his strength is just bat. But he's another guy who, if he's in the lineup every day, I think he's a candidate to go hit, 15 or more home runs. I don't think he's going to be in the lineup that much. But, he's a guy, even in limited at-bats, he's probably pushing for double-digit homers. And Michael Kalinich, sorry if I butchered that last name, but he's a freshman coming in. I think they think very highly of him, too. He kind of just – the vibes on him remind me of Walker Barron, after guy who I think has a lot of upside. And we might not see him a whole lot, but it's one of those situations that Pilk, you talked about it earlier, but if there's a day where John Collins is DHing and Walker Barron's catching, that shows you that they're confident in the third guy. And I like Michael Kalinich. So, yeah, he's definitely a guy. I think we could see him more and more as the season goes on for sure.
We're talking baseball with Wags. Jonathan Wagner from On3 Sports, ECU alum, with us here on the Patrick Johnson Show. Looking forward to talking to Wags throughout the next several months, frequently here on the show, I hope. And we got Pilk with us as well. All right, let me ask you a question here, Mr. Wagner. When you look at – nobody plays the RPI game, the net game, better than Cliff Godwin with his non-conference scheduling. And I certainly think, ECU's in an admirable spot being a high-level program with talent, and you can generate and have, opponents play you that are out of the ACC or, what have you, other conferences. In other words, a midweek game against ECU is not going to harm anybody in the non-conference. So Cliff Godwin plays that very well with how he schedules his non-conference as well. So let's talk a little bit about the American itself, because it's a conference that, frankly, has not, from a baseball perspective, lived up to the bargain as far as having teams that can consistently help you with the net or with, the RPI rankings. So when you go back and look at this, Wags, is there anybody else outside of ECU that you think could maybe have a really good year collectively, maybe make a push for an at-large, or could be there at the end, and you might find them as a real threat in Clearwater in May?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it starts with Wichita State, who got hot last year, and they were a very dangerous threat in the conference tournament. And Wichita State, college baseball is better when Wichita State is good, because they're one of those, smaller type programs that always has a lot of talent that comes through. And I think this year will be no different. And I really hope that they find their game and they turn it on and they're good throughout the season, because I want to play meaningful baseball throughout the entire second half of the season, every weekend. I want it to mean something. I don't want – and, we've talked about so many unknowns on the ECU's team, but I don't want them to find those roles through games where they're winning 15-2 or 8-1. I want a whole bunch of 4-3 games where they're fighting until the ninth every game. And so I think it's a team that could feel that. And, South Florida as well, they got Indiana State's coach, and that's a pretty big deal. And I think they're a team that if that – it might take a year, but I do think the trajectory of that program is going to be on the rise, because I think that's a tremendous hire. They got some more talent in there. They've lost some as well. So it might not happen this year, but it also wouldn't surprise me at all if at the end of the season we're looking ahead to Clearwater in the last regular season weekend against a pretty good USF team who's right there in the race as well.
Let me ask you this, Wags. When you look at North Carolina, they are top 6 in some of the polls, top 5 in the preseason. That's going to be a huge kind of early weekend test, second weekend test for the Pirates. It almost seems like if you're going to get UNC, it's kind of good to get them early because they get better as the year goes on. How good is this Tar Heel team that returns so much?
Yeah, it is definitely good that ECU gets UNC early because, I think the strength of the ECU staff on paper is its starting rotation. You're going to have Jason DeCaro on Fridays as your ace, and he's a probably future top 5 pick. I think he's that good. And, he was a 17-year-old freshman last year, cough, cough, Sean Jenkins. So, but behind him, you have a couple of guys who are coming off a major injury. Folger Boaz, he was their Friday night guy to start last year. We saw him against Trey Savage. He was really good. His effectiveness went down in the middle of the year, and then he got hurt, missed the rest of the season. And Knapp started on Fridays for them last year before he had to have UCL surgery. So those are two guys. They're tracking to be, I think, available opening weekend. And so when we play them the second weekend, they should be on the mound. You're going to have to ramp them back up a little bit against live hitters. But I think the strength of their team is their rotation at its ceiling. There are questions, though. They lost a lot. They lost like 80 home runs from that lineup. So I do think it's a good situation for ECU to get them, like you said, forward, find their groove, and get better. But 6 feels a little high for me early, but I do think that's another team that, if everything falls together, is very capable of Omaha.
Wags, how do you see, who else do you see being really good in the ACC? East Carolina's got Virginia Tech on the docket. They've got Duke on the docket, obviously, State. But who else do you see being really good in the Atlantic Coast Conference this year?
Yeah, I think going in, Virginia's the favorite, and Virginia's just so good at bringing in quality players, recruiting, freshman recruiting. They have a lot of talent on that team, and they bring back a lot of young talent too. They have a couple of studs in that starting rotation too. So I like Virginia a lot. I think if I had to pick today, I would probably pick them to win the ACC. And behind them, NC State, they should have a really good starting rotation too. They lost some in the lineup as well, but that's kind of a common theme here. And, Duke's kind of the same way. Duke strength is always their pitching, and they have a couple anchors in that lineup too, positive anchors. So Duke could contend. Clemson's obviously going to be there, and Clemson has a few future very high first-round picks on their team as well. So, and, I didn't even mention Wake Forest. I think there's probably less hype on them coming into the season as there have been in previous years, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if Wake Forest is in that conversation at the end of the season too.
Nationally, who you got?
Man, it's hard to not just roll back with Tennessee.
Oh, no. Wags froze up
Wags.
on us, Pilk. Yeah, we lost Wags. Oh, no. All right. See if we can get him back on. See if we can get him back on really quick, Pilk, because we were just getting into the national talk there. The great Jonathan Wagner joining us on 3. Of course, he was on with Igo earlier today. But let's see if we can catch Wags here just to get a couple final words from him, because I would love to talk to him and wrap this up. Another great appearance from Wags here on the Patrick Johnson Show, and Pilk will let me know if we get a chance to.
I will say his new apartment is very nice, but the one thing he complained about when I was there the other day was bad internet, and he said his computer disconnected from the internet.
Oh, no.
Dang it,
All
Wags.
right, well.
Wags and
all
technology is about like Joey football and technology. It just doesn't always mix.
Yeah. All right. Well, I tell you what, we'll hit a break. We'll come back, and we will wrap up this fun-filled edition of the Patrick Johnson Show right after this on 94.3 The Game, 94.3thegame.com, and the IBX Media app.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed, meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
This holiday season, get the gift you really want at Greenville Toyota. It's our holiday trade-up. Drive a new Corolla, just $229 a month, or a new Tacoma, only $329 a month during the holiday trade-up at Greenville Toyota.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Everybody loves tiebreakers.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master. Let's go! Woo! Woo! Yeah! Woo! Football time!
Set the tone. Kyle, tie your shoes, tie your shoes. Yeah, good job. Woo! Yeah!
Grab a Pepsi Wild Cherry and get wild.
Unwrap a new Toyota for the holidays at Greenville Toyota. It's our holiday trade-up. Get a new Camry, $269 a month, or a new RAV4, $329 a month. Trade up and save at Greenville Toyota.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout eastern North Carolina. Get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
And now, the stunning conclusion of the show. It's the P-Man here on 94.3 The Game.
Jonathan Wagner, here he is. Got him back for a couple minutes here to wrap things up. I don't know what happened, but we got Wag. That's all I know. All right, you were saying Tennessee. Take it from there.
Yeah, I think, Tennessee brings back a lot, and it's hard to pick against Tony Vitello, but, you also look at Texas A&M, the team that was right there with them in Omaha last year, and they have a first-year head coach in Michael Early, but Texas A&M has a lot of talent on that team, and they were able to retain a lot of their top-end talent, Jace LaViolette, Gavin Grahovic, and it just goes on and on and on. And that's a team that if it comes together, then I could see them being that dominant number one team throughout the entire season. And, behind them too, I mean, LSU, again, brought in a lot of talent. I think they're rightfully a top 5 caliber team coming into the year. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if LSU goes on a big run. And I hate to keep rattling off SEC teams, but Arkansas, again, should have a really strong rotation. Back Root is there, and he's just one of a few highly coveted lefties that they got out of the portal. So I know I just rattled off a whole bunch of SEC teams, but man, those teams look very good in my eyes coming into the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you a little bit about just kind of, where the sport is and its evolving popularity. How do you, when we look back, what will be one of the themes, or maybe what are some of the themes going into the year or storylines going into the year for college baseball, the SEC, the ACC, but, what are some other overriding themes going into the year for college baseball?
Yeah, well, I mean, it starts with, Jim Schlossnagle, and he was at Texas A&M last year led them to the College World Series finals. And where'd he go? He went to rival Texas. And I am very much looking forward to that series. And that series alone is going to be so good for college baseball. Just there's going to be so much anticipation, so much hype around that weekend. And they should put that weekend on ESPN. I don't care. And that should be what everyone is talking about for those 3 days and the couple days before and after. And, outside of that, it's, I know I'm biased. We're all from the North Carolina area here right now, but I think you should continue to highlight the strength of baseball in this region. South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, there's so many quality teams, and they're not all going to be ranked. I mean, you look at it, ECU, Coastal Carolina, and in the non-conference. I think that's a huge weekend series and one that I hope we see for a long time. So, that kind of stuff, all these midweeks, they're so good for college baseball. I hope they continue to showcase it and find ways to further advance it, because when these teams are rolling and these rivalries are really hot, there's nothing better. And, man, I love it. I hope they keep showcasing it and finding ways to bring more of it to us in the future.
Will you be in Carter Finley Stadium in late August?
To be determined. It depends. Oh, well, no, it's a Thursday night. I work Thursday nights. I was hoping for like a 6, 7 o'clock kickoff on Saturday, and I could have made that work. But I work 4 to midnight on Thursday, so I'm probably not going to be able to make it. But we'll see. We got a lot of time between now and then.
There are such things as time off, Wags. You can always take it. Although that's week 1, and I get it. So
well, he also used all his time off during college baseball season. That's the problem.
Because
he's a baseball nerd. He's a football fan.
Right. I got you. And is he? And yeah. Would you? Well, I can't even ask you if your Commanders got the hose in anyway, because they didn't. They just got plowed. But you got to be excited about, I guess, that with the future of Washington football.
Yeah, man, it's a long time coming, and it's shades of the RG3 rookie year, but I think to me the organization's in so much better of a spot. And Adam Peters did such a good job building this team, and I saw a tweet that fired me up, and that should be the worst supporting cast Jaden Daniels ever has. Because you have the third most cap space coming into the season, you have your draft picks, and you have ability. So I hope this season is just a start. Do I expect to make the NFC Championship next year? Probably not. But I do think that they're going to be a playoff team pretty often for the next few years, and I'd be very disappointed if they're not.
Hey, thanks a lot, Wags. Enjoyed having you on. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, man, always happy to come, and I'm glad we're back talking college baseball, so happy to join.
Yep, great to have you on. There he is, Jonathan Wagner. Good to hear from him. All right, Bill Belichick goes on the Dude's podcast. What's his name?
I don't know. I saw what he said. I don't know. Was it Rich Eisen? Was he on McAfee's? I have no idea. I don't know whose podcast he was on. I just know what he said.
He wasn't on Eisen's podcast. That would be a little too highbrow. He was on the podcast McAfee.
Yeah.
McAfee. Which I know is kind of your generation's thing. For me, I just feel like I'm a little dumber when I listen. If I see a clip of McAfee or if I catch it, I feel a little dumber. And I'm pretty dumb. So, but Belichick wants them to take the name Lombardi off the Lombardi Trophy and put Brady on it, called the Brady Trophy. Fair or foul, Philip the Ref Pilkington?
Foul would be an understatement, P-Man.
Yes. Foul would be the understatement of all understatements.
There's a reason trophies are named, and success is part of it, but honoring is the most part. Look, the Bears have won 2 NFC championships, and it's still called the George Halas Trophy because what George Halas did for the game. The Chiefs went 50 years without going to a Super Bowl. It's still called the Lamar Hunt Trophy because Lamar Hunt started the AFL. Same thing here with the Lombardi Trophy. I mean, Vince Lombardi had so much to do with the fact that the NFL and AFL merged too. I mean, yes, the owners and the commissioner had to do it, but as far as a coach, he was okay going and doing that and playing the lesser AFL. He wanted that. And the Super Bowl wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for Vince Lombardi, and this honors his legacy, and it just proves what a moron Belichick is.
Wow. Well, I think it's a very out of left field statement, because if you believe certain things that we have heard and certain things that we have read, there wasn't this great relationship between Brady and Belichick. I mean, it was professional, but it wasn't personal, which is fine. I think personal relationships in work are, can cloud things, or are a little overrated depending on the circumstance. You have to have a healthy respect for your fellow humans, but I don't think everybody has to be best buddies. What is odd to me about this whole thing is that why wouldn't he said we'll name it the Belichick Trophy, because he's got 7 of those things right now. Granted, one is as an assistant, but he was the defensive coordinator for that Giants team that beat Buffalo, and they had a great defense. He had a lot to do with why they won.
Yeah, I don't think Jeff Hostetler being the quarterback was the reason they won that Super Bowl.
No, would not be the Hostetler Trophy for sure. That's so odd, though. I find that strange.
I think some people just say dumb stuff just to hey, you know what? There's been nothing going on the last few days. We're the week leading into the Pro Bowl that nobody gives a crap about. Let's say something stupid. I think that's kind of what this was.
I do think senility could be creeping in on old Bill. Senility could be on its way.
Yeah, maybe he and Lee Corso can go be roommates in the old people home.
Wow. Well, Joe Biden. All right, so big thanks to Jonathan Wagner, Wags, for being on with us. Great to talk to him. Thank you, Pilk. And we will be back with you tomorrow. Note the time, 4 o'clock, ahead of the Logan Zone. We'll be back right here for the Patrick Johnson Show. 4 o'clock tomorrow. Catch you in the morning on Talk of the Town, live from the legislature at 7 a.m.